This is our Meals and Moments series that goes through 2 weeks of our life, things that we're making here in the kitchen and behind the scenes on what's happening. If you're just meeting me, my name is Amy Cross and this is the Cross Legacy, where I teach you how to save money on groceries. Our grocery budget is $135 per person, and there's only 2 of us that live here at the house, so our grocery budget is $270 per month. But oftentimes we're feeding extra people too, family that lives nearby and friends. I love this series that we put out every 2 weeks because it really does show you the receipts of all the items that we bring home from grocery shopping and how we're still using them weeks later. This video starts the first 2 weeks of July, and the last time I went grocery shopping was June 11th. We have been doing this video series every 2 weeks since the beginning of 2025, so this is technically season 2 and episode number 13. For this first meal that we had some carne asada that I had in the freezer for the meat, and I pulled that out, and as it was defrosting, I made a marinade, mostly with fresh squeezed orange juice and limes. I just let that marinate in the sauce for a few hours while it was defrosting, but doing it the night before would make it even more flavorful. I added some onions to the pan and let those start cooking, and then added the meat and some of the extra marinade, along with some peppers and black beans. In a second pan, I was warming up the tortillas, and in total, it only took about 10 minutes of me standing in front of the stove to get dinner on the table. So for this night, I had pulled out some of that pulled pork I had in the freezer that I bought back in February. That was a $20 pork loin that we're still eating from. As it was warming up in the pan, I just added a little bit of barbecue sauce to this to warm it up, and had Mike warm up some baked beans. And we had some hamburger buns in the freezer, and it was just a super simple dinner. Somebody was playing over at Grandma and Papa's house all day long, and so we had a super simple dinner the next night using that pulled pork leftovers that was in the refrigerator. And this is exactly why I don't put the sauce on it when we go to freeze it, because this night we ended up making tacos out of it. I am finding that some days it's just easier for me to hold something and eat it than eat it any other way. So we have been having tacos a little bit more than normal. We did go out to the movies, which was really fun. We got to go see Young Washington, and we made sure we picked a theater that had reclining seats so we didn't fight over the armrests. I can't even remember the last time that we've been to the movies. It was probably pre-pandemic, and we were loving the movie popcorn. I really loved that this showed so much of George Washington's young life and part of history that I didn't know. It was really interesting, and even though there was lots of battles in it, it wasn't gory at all. And with this being a celebration kind of weekend for the 4th of July, but it was also our 5-year The Cross Legacy anniversary. So we were going to be having family over the next day, and I made sure when they asked what they could bring that I had one of my kiddos swing by the farmer's market in the morning and bring fresh strawberries. I think that's a really great hosting tip, especially when you're trying to save money, is to have your guests bring something that you don't already have at the house, and you can build things around it. So they got up early and went to the farmer's market and brought us fresh strawberries. And then we went to the kiddie parade here in town, and it was so fun to see all of the town kids going in the parade and the streets lined with flags. Then we went to a car show at our city park, and it ended up being almost 100 degrees that afternoon, so everybody went back to their own houses for naps. And after a little bit of rest, I ended up making some strawberry shortcakes that we could have for dessert, and then also starting the prep work for dinner. We had that lemon tortellini that I had made on the previous meals video. We had that for the 4th of July, and this worked out perfect for us because we were able to make it friendly for our vegetarian in the family. We were able to just somebody else's up before we put the sauce on it, just to make it as plain as possible so everybody could enjoy it. And then at the very end is when we mixed the meat with the vegetables and the tortellini, and then added that lemon dressing on top. So we were able to have dinner for 7 people, and it was only one dish that we had to worry about. And I know a pasta dish isn't traditionally what you would have on the 4th of July, but it was perfect for my shoulder pain and being able to still have our family over together and not have too much of a mess to clean up afterwards. For that strawberry shortcake, I used that high protein strawberry shortcake recipe that we have on the blog. And then I also made a cream cheese kind of sauce for on top of the strawberry shortcake with strawberries blended into it, and then also the strawberries and a little bit of whipped cream. But there was even a comment about how it was so good, and then one of my kiddos turned and said, "Yeah, Mom made it. It's probably really healthy too." But throughout the whole dessert, I had only added about a tablespoon of maple syrup to all the components. So it really was very low sugar. It was just sweetened with the natural berries. We went to watch the fireworks that our city and the Rotary was putting on, and they also had a play beforehand. So it was really nice to be able to watch this play of the founding fathers and then see the fireworks with our entire family. The best part of the whole evening though was within 5 or 10 minutes of the fireworks being done, we were back home already. We used to go to this large fireworks show every single year, and we would have to stay in the parking lot for like an hour before we even got to the traffic to be able to come home. So we wouldn't get home until like 1 o'clock in the morning from the fireworks. And it was just our tradition, and we did it every year. But this year, everybody was so excited that we were home before 11 o'clock. On Sunday, a 4th of July weekend, I ended up resting the entire day. I did not even bother to get dressed all day. It was just a complete day of rest, and we were enjoying some leftovers. For this dinner, I just made a sheet pan meal that went directly into the oven. So I did that with some green beans, carrots, peppers, and onions, added the chicken breast to it, and I just seasoned that with salt, pepper, and garlic, and let that cook in the oven until it came up to temperature. It wouldn't have been as warm in the kitchen if I would have been able to do it at the stovetop, but I had zero energy that day, and that was all I could do to put dinner together. I wanted to make sure that I was the one that put dinner together because Mike was super motivated to get some projects done, and I did not want to interrupt his motivation. He ended up fixing the bathtub drain for me, so now I don't have to use a stopper. The drain actually works, which is really exciting for me. And then he finished the texturing in that back room that we're going to turn into a studio room. And then he spent hours, it felt like, with the shop vac trying to get all of the dust up. And I was really impressed. He even cleaned the floors Pristine Clean Style, which is the house company that I used to own, and he did the floors on his hands and knees. So as he was busy most of the day, I did not want to stop him to make dinner, so I ended up doing that. And I honestly, for my part of the day, I just read my book. So I'm starting to think about the things in my refrigerator that I need to use up before we go grocery shopping again. And for some reason, we ended up getting a whole tub of Greek yogurt behind. So I had some Greek yogurt that was still left over from my May grocery shopping trip, and then a whole tub of Greek yogurt that was still in there from June, and I wanted to make sure that I was using it up before it went sour. So I made a double batch of those high protein bagels that I make. I love that I don't have to knead them. You just have to put the ingredients in a bowl and form them into bagels, and into the oven they go. I also made some of that cream cheese sauce, which really was just Greek yogurt, the strawberries, and a little bit of vanilla in it. So we had the strawberry cream cheese on top of the cream cheese, and then we had the bagels. But that way I was using up ingredients that we already had and turning them into something different so we would actually eat it. So for this dinner, we were actually using up the leftovers of the chicken, peppers, and onions, and I had made gyros with this. So just those pita breads that I pull out of the freezer, we warmed up those items, and then I make the sauce that I cannot pronounce, so we'll put it on the screen here. So again, I am using up that Greek yogurt in a different way now, and I'm adding it for the sauce. And we still had a cucumber in the refrigerator, and it's been over 3 weeks since we went to the grocery store the last time. So that also went on the gyros and into the sauce. And then I grabbed some fresh dill from the garden. The next night, we actually just had nachos for dinner, which I am okay with if we have them occasionally for dinner. We had some chips left in a gallon-sized glass jar that were actually 2 or 3 months old now, and I wanted to make sure that we were using those before we opened up the next bag that we bought on our June grocery shopping trip. For dinner on this night, again, like I have kind of very little appetite. My pain levels are really high. I really don't care what's for dinner. We just want to have dinner. And we ended up having nachos. So this was taco meat that I had batch cooked back in February, and it was the last container I still had left in the freezer. So I was using that. And then I had some cheddar cheese in the freezer that I let defrost also when the meat was defrosting. And we just had the nachos with some extra peppers and onions on that. And the chips were actually, I think, 2 or 3 months old that were in a gallon-sized glass jar in the pantry. I wanted to make sure that we were using up the last of those chips before we opened the new bag that we got a month ago. So we kind of have all of the same ingredients in a lot of these meals, but they're completely different meals every night. We have lived here now officially for 9 months. And at the very beginning of this, it was kind of fun that nobody knew who I was. We would go into church or go into the store and nobody would know my name or had recognized me from the Cross Legacy. Now that we've been here for a few months, I'm actually starting to realize that I need to make a friend. So there are a couple people in town that know what my first name is or know that I'm somebody's mom or grandma, but they don't know anything about me. And I finally sent a message to the church secretary or admin official or whatever she's called. And I told her that I really wanted to meet somebody that was kind of in the same age bracket or stage of life that I was in. And then she suggested that we should be door greeters at the church. And let me tell you, that is the furthest thing from anything that I would want to do right now, because I am such an introvert. It has really since the pandemic has made me even more of an introvert, and shaking 100 people's hands in the morning is not my favorite thing to do either. So as I was laughing about this, I replied back to her like, no, that's not what I meant. I meant can you just introduce me to one person that's kind of my age or in the same stage of life that we're in. So after church, she introduced me to one person, and as we started talking, we found out it was also the same person that Mike has met the husband somewhere else, and they had been trying to get us wives together. So it was really neat that Mike has started making a friend, and the church secretary didn't know this, and it was the same person that they wanted to set us up together. And we're laughing because it kind of sounded like a date, but it was kind of funny just trying to find somebody that was really genuine and nice and caring and not phony. And I don't normally love small talk when it doesn't feel like it's genuine. So we ended up meeting in person in real life. I was sending text messages to my best friend back over on the west side, I'm so nervous and I have to meet somebody in real life and sit there and talk. Again, introverted, not something I normally like to do. And we ended up sitting there and talking for over 2 hours. It was really neat. We both were foster parents in the last 10 years and went through the pandemic having foster kids, and just were able to talk about our similar stories and how much that has affected our hearts over the years and how much we still care about our littles. So it's really neat to be able to actually know somebody that is interested in becoming my friend and to get to know somebody on a personal level. And soonish, the 4 of us, both the husbands and us, we are going to get together and have a dinner all together. But again, it's really hard to move to a new area, especially with it being a very small town, and meet new people. The next day we went grocery shopping. We went to the bigger city that is nearby and went to Costco. Well, first we went to Home Depot, but we went to Costco and Walmart and were able to do all of our grocery shopping. While we were there, I also thought about a neighbor that we have that I knew was having surgery, and I asked if she needed anything while we were at Costco. This kind of feels like when we were back in college and the 𝐂𝐻𝐿 is 8 miles away and you would ask all of your neighbors before you drive to the grocery store. It's kind of like that right now with Costco being so far away that you kind of want to check in to see if anybody needs anything. So while I was texting the neighbor and finding out that she actually was on a liquid diet and she was worried about getting tired of the protein shakes that she was drinking and said that she was going to end up having to buy store-bought broth, I thought instantly the best thing I could do to help her was to make some chicken broth for her. So I picked up the things that she needed at the store, and while I was there, I also made sure that we got whole chickens so I could make the chicken stock. So technically, I've made 2 friends. So since I knew that she was going to be using this as sipping broth and not just cooking broth, I wanted to make it a little bit extra special. I have had surgery before and been on liquid diet where I was stuck drinking chicken broth, and I know how tiring it can get. So we did a little bit of a different technique in cooking this. It's called spatchcock. You cut out the backbone of the chicken and then you flip it over and kind of push it down so it butterflies out the chicken. So we were having this for dinner and he put it on the smoker and made sure that he put the temperature in it and set it to 160 degrees. And that way when he pulled it off of the smoker and brought it inside, it would raise up the rest of the temperature. But while that was cooking, I also had cut up some potatoes and carrots and onions that he had on his grill pan that has the holes in it. And so those cooked and smoked right along with the chicken. As we were cleaning up dinner, we just took all of the bones that was left over from the chicken and put it into the Instapot, which I then added garlic, onions, carrots, and celery to that, and then filled it up with water with some peppercorns. And that was able to pressure cook for 90 minutes. And then I just set it for the warming setting so it would cook all night. And I was able to strain that out and then put it in pint-sized jars to take over to my neighbor. And then I did a second round of the stock using those same items. I just added a little bit more onions and the onion peels to it. And I did a second round so we would have stock here at the house. And look how beautiful it is. The smoky flavor really came out in this and it is so delicious. So the ones that are in my refrigerator, I always make sure that I cool the stock down to fridge temperature before I end up putting it into the freezer. So I'm going to put some of this into super cubes and some into the pint-sized jars that are going to go into the freezer, and I can use them for the next couple months. I had a little bit of energy to do a little project and it made somebody very happy. But we got a new block of chargers for our different YouTube equipment that we use and all of the lights. So now we get to organize our cabinet a little bit better. We had totally outgrown the old system that we were using, and I love that all of the things are all in one place and it's really manageable to know that everything's being charged. But you wouldn't even realize all of the equipment that it takes to make these videos, from all of the different lighting and all the lights underneath the cabinets. Those all have to be charged. The microphones, the cameras, everything. It's all down in this cabinet now and it makes me very happy. It was a very good project for the amount of energy that I had to feel like I did something and really accomplished a big goal. I'm kind of struggling with my appetite a little bit. When my pain levels are high, I just have a hard time wanting to eat. So whatever Mike suggests is kind of what we've been having for meals, which is totally fine right now. But for breakfast, I seem to have a better start to the morning when I just have some scrambled eggs, and we've been having them with black beans very often. So with some of that chicken breast that was left over, we ended up making some BBQ pizzas with these that we had for dinner. And then we ended up having them again because they were so good, and I decided to film it for you guys. So we ended up filming that today, but it was the second time that we've had them. And I'm realizing that with the pita and the cheese and just leftovers, they end up being just about $1 a piece, which you can't beat getting pizza for $1. For some reason, the tuna casserole blog post is trending right now, which you would think it's the middle of berry season and it would be a berry recipe or something trending, but tuna casserole has been the #1 on the list. And of course, since I saw the report come in, it made me think of tuna casserole. So I ended up making tuna casserole for me for lunch, and I made it with that smoky chicken stock, and it was so good. It's not Mike's favorite thing to have tuna casserole. It's normally something I'll have when he's out of town, but he actually really liked this, and I did add some carrots to it. I'm trying to use up all the old produce before we start using any new produce. So I ended up adding carrots and celery and onions and peas to it with that smoky chicken stock. And then I have a couple more servings I'm going to put in the freezer that I can just warm up for me on other days. I also added some cream cheese to this. That was using up some of that cream cheese we had on those bagels. So again, trying to use up some of the items that we have in the house. And I don't like buying any like can of mushroom kind of soups because of the different additives in it. So I like to be able to use those single ingredient items to make a meal. And I did take a picture of the bottom of the can. This has a 2025 Best By date on it. And I only have one other can of tuna left that was pandemic tuna that we still have in a can. But if your Best By date on any canned tuna or canned chicken, you have 3 years after that Best By date that's encouraged to use it by. And yes, I know that some people don't pay attention to the Best By dates at all, but I have to be careful what I say. We really believe in having food security in our house, but making sure that we're rotating through those items so food isn't going to waste just because we set it aside to be long-term food storage. And the last meal for this is some sweet and sour shrimp stir fry that we're actually going to be filming for a video. So this video will come up before that recipe video comes up on the channel, but it's something that you can look forward to. And for those of you that are following along with the shoulder issue that I'm dealing with, I have started PT now and been doing it for a couple of weeks, but I still don't see the doctor until July 20th. I think this video will go up on the channel just a couple days after that, but I haven't seen the doctor again yet. So just know there's not really any updates besides I am just in excruciating pain, especially in the middle of the night when I go to move my pillow or pull up the sheet or like reach over to grab my phone to see what time it is. Like it's so bad I'll end up waking up Mike because it's so bad at times. And so I just appreciate all of the prayers and everything, and just bear with me as we are dealing with this shoulder injury. There's definitely something right in this area that hurts so bad when I go to raise my arm or reach it out or behind me. And I am left-handed, so I do a lot of things with my left hand, but I also do a lot of things with my right hand too. And so we just don't know if it's going to be something as easy as a cortisone shot and just PT, or if it's an estrogen issue. Like there's still blood work and stuff that needs to be done, but it really feels like there's a tear right here that needs to be repaired. As much as it is the middle of summer and I'd love to be doing more things, making more things, or even doing canning projects, I just have to take every day as it comes to see how much energy and pain that I have. And the grocery haul is already up on the channel, and the timing of us filming this, it's going to be filmed a couple days before it ends up on the channel. But as of today when we're filming this, there is a produce outbreak that we don't have any answers about right now. But for me and my household, I went and did our normal grocery shopping trip like we always do. And I am going to wash my produce items like I always do. And all of the tips are here in my book that has 75 fruits and vegetables and how I'm able to keep them fresh for weeks. So since we don't know exactly what is happening or what is being affected, I am just continuing to use the same methods that I always do. And some of those items that I normally didn't rinse off as I was pulling them out of the vinegar wash, like the peppers or cucumbers, I am making sure that I'm rinsing it a little bit more. So make sure as you are bringing produce into your house that you are washing them. And if you are very concerned about this, it's also a good idea just to add a more cooked produce to your items instead of eating it raw. This is my zero waste produce guide that goes through those 75 items, and then also my grocery planner that I keep track of all of these meals so I know what my family likes to eat, and I write down all of the meals and the ingredients in my house, and also keep track of that grocery budget in my planner. And I have these for over 10 years now. It's really nice to be able to go back and look through the seasons and remember meals that we liked and be able to pull those back into the rotation again. We seem to have kind of the same meals in the fall and winter time, and then other meals in the spring and summer. So we never get bored of the same things. These two things are listed in the description, and there's a discount code.